Hello and welcome to Quintessential Comix. I'm Alice Quinn, your host. And this is our book club where we talk about graphic novels and books and stuff. So each month we come together to discuss one new issue and one full graphic novel, and we vote on it in the Facebook page. So you guys, as the readers and as the members of the book club, can vote on what we're reading and discussing. And then we get together and chat about it. Good times. All right. So yeah, I'm Alice Quinn. Tonight we are talking about Kill 6 Billion Demons and the new issue, Mother Panic. And with me today, I have guests that will introduce themselves.
Yeah. Oh, I'll go first. Hi, I'm Tara Mack. I am a comic book clerk at Labyrinth Bookstore in Toronto, and I love comics so much. All right, that's it.
And
Great.
I'm Elijah Beam. I am the Unabridged Gamer on YouTube, and occasionally I actually go to my Tumblr and review a comic, which I really need to get back to at some point. And this is my audio editor, David Doherty.
Oh my god, did you guys have a meeting tonight?
No. He's just over. My mom and his wife are both artists, so they're going to an arts thing in Hershey.
Cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to get personal, but I did. Which one do you guys want to talk about first?
No, go ahead.
Maybe start with Mother Panic, because I've got some criticisms for 6 Billion Demons, and I'd like to start up on a happy note.
All right.
Okay.
I have a feeling this is going to be a balanced chat, because I'm the other way around.
So Mother Panic, it's the next in the line of DC's Young Animal. Last month we actually talked about another one in this, I guess, series? It's not a series, it's like a collection of curated content by Gerard Way, who we care about for some reason, but not really. And it's set in Gotham, and I have not been super keeping up with DC Comics, so I have no idea who this person is, but she seems pretty badass. What do you guys think?
Yeah. I was completely confused. Just like, I was like, maybe if I get to the end of this, I will know what's going on. Maybe she's based on a character, because I know that Shade the Changing Girl, which was previously reviewed, was based on Shade the Changing Man, and it's like a reboot of a character, so it's a tribute, but she doesn't seem to be based on anyone,
No,
and I don't think that her family is from any superhero pantheon, so all of a sudden they're just like, bam, this is a new hero, and yeah, I'm still on the fence about her. Is she that new and interesting that I want to care?
Elijah, do you care?
I'm curious to see where they're going with it, because the thing is, it's been a long time since we've seen something new done with Gotham. A lot of times, they kind of just throw in a character every now and then, but they're just for a miniseries, and then they're gone again. And in this case, I'm kind of curious to see where they're going with Mother Panic, because it seems like they could take her in an anti-hero direction, actually put her in contest with both the villains and Batman, or she could actually end up in the Bat family now that Kathy Kane's helping Bruce hold everything down in the fort. But it's just nice to see a different slice of Gotham for me. I mean, we've all seen the Batman story 1,000 times and again. So seeing someone else who is very much kind of fitting in the whole, I'm a rich person, I can afford to have a flying jet ski thing that apparently I can fly through the air. That thing looks really dumb, but I love her costume design. But
I don't get her costume design. What's it supposed to be?
I honestly think it's inspired a little bit by the early 2000s, the Batman. It's kind of got the bigger angles, the heavier headset and stuff like that. I think that's what they were going for, something a little bit inspired by that. But seriously, the flying jet ski thing, whatever that is supposed to be, just give her a grapnel gun. Everybody in Gotham should just get a grapnel gun by virtue of citizenship. And I do like this whole mystery lingering over her parents and everything, because
Sorry.
So here's that that weird flying
No, continue.
thing.
That was
A weird flying thing. Yeah.
it's a little bit strange.
Yeah, flying jet ski is a pretty good way of describing that.
Yeah, that's a very curious design for it. But I like the fact that they're actually dealing with a character who has Alzheimer's, although I hope they handle it well in that first regard. And I'm kind of curious what the whole background with her father is, because at the very end of the issue, it describes her power set as she does have some latent metahuman thing going on. It's just unclear where it came from and everything, or if it's just the suit. They seem to be really trying to slowly unveil the character, and I also really do like the art. It's got a nice painterly kind of thing going on about it. It's a little messier, but in a way I like. But I will agree that there's a total chance that this could go downhill really, really fast. But I clicked with it faster than I did Shade the Changing Girl, so there's that.
Yeah, I definitely do dig the art. I think it's cool. I have some criticisms with that costume design. So her boots are slick, but she's got chunky hockey gloves and this giant helmet with a pink X over her mouth and like weird dark pink sunglasses when she first appears and like punches
I'm sharing it.
on. Yeah, check it out.
Elijah,
Um,
on her screen share.
Yeah, your revelation.
I do, obviously, I adore any character costume design that's not like the over-sexualized, super slick, tight costume. I hope that there's a reason for the weird headset, and I hope that there's a reason for the chunky gloves. Like, if she's more of a punching person than a kicking person, maybe.
That does seem to be the case, and I think the X is actually like holographic. I wonder if they're going for a Rorschach thing, because the main head.
Or like when she speaks.
Yeah.
So personally, I don't like the peaks on the helmet, because she's specifically in the issue. She's like, no, I'm not Batman. I'm not with Batman. But she's got like ear like.
Yeah, that
points.
part. Yeah, there's no argument that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless I was Catwoman instead.
So going back to her weird pink X, later in the issue where she's talking to the guy she's taken hostage, there's no pink X. So I don't know what the point of that was, whether it's just stylistic or it's inconsistent. It doesn't always appear when she's talking, so I don't know what that is.
Actually, it does. I'm looking at it. It's incredibly faint, though.
No.
Yeah, it's right there when she's interrogating him. It's very faint. The tablet's not gonna look right.
Here, hold on. I got it.
It's the page where she's holding him by the throat. You can just barely see it, but it actually is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, right there.
Okay, but in the next page, it's not there.
Yeah, right up. Go to the right. Yeah, right there. Right there, the X is actually still there.
So what I think it might be, is I think it might be like voice activated. Like when she's talking, there's like an X in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's clearly a voice changer kind of thing, maybe. I don't know. What did you guys think of during like the big silent fight sequence, which reminded me very much of, Greg Rucka, J.H. Williams Batwoman style 2-page splash fight sequence from Batwoman LG, but the weird pink and white images of the birthday cake with the candles melting and the snake eating the mouse and the swan and the tree, and I was like, is this supposed to be like her powers symbolic, or what is this?
So I'm putting it up on the screen now. I don't know. I feel like this character was introduced in another part of the Bat universe, and I'm just unaware of what's going on. Because, I mean, it's weird imagery, and I feel like it's trying to, like, say something to us.
It's supposed to be some sort of metaphor or allegory. It's just...
It's not clear at all. No. Maybe this is a part of her power, but it just... I don't know.
The reason that I don't think it has anything to do with her power is that it's specifically made outside of everything else. This isn't happening in the action. It's made very much to be the other, the something that we're just not connected with. So I'm honestly wondering if it's supposed to be something with like her mental state, if it's supposed to be what she's thinking or something like that. Just, yeah, that's one part I agree. I have no friggin' clue what exactly they were going for with that. I'm hoping that, once again, maybe it'll pay off in the long run.
Yeah. I did a bit of Googling because I wanted to see if it was really, I was just that lost in the DC universe, and she really does seem to be a completely new character that they're just setting up for young animals. Like, she's not based on anything. Okay. So I don't know if she's appeared in any other thing, or if they're planning to do a young animals crossover, which probably. But her Wikipedia page is non-existent, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're waiting to see if this comic sells before they dedicate a Wikipedia page to her.
They put any work into it, yeah.
To be honest, like, going over this issue, nothing about her character really jumped out at me or stuck with me, other than the fact that her mom has, like, Alzheimer's and has been, like, sick for a really long time. That's the only thing that stuck. The things that, like, after I put down this comic, the things that I remember about it were the, like, art-based villain, who was the only interesting part of this book. But let's be honest, and that was really interesting. I was like, I wonder what was, like, that piece they were hiding. That was interesting, and then everything else was boring. I'll show an image of that villain. What did you guys think about that villain?
I thought she was great, actually. I was going to bring that up if no one else did, how intense an introduction, like a cold open to a villain that was. It was a really good pairing of art and dialogue, I felt. Like, that was when I was actually paying attention to what was happening in the comic and following along. And they're setting something up here, yeah.
She's almost like kind of like a modern retake on Professor Pig in the way that she's just, turning the human body into just her own personal art piece.
Is that something that's been done in like Batman and a DC before?
Professor Pig is a very obscure character. The only reason I know about it is because, ironically, a kids show decided to try to remix him into being family-friendly at one point, but he appears in Arkham Knight as well. He's kind of just this doctor who's obsessed with, like everyone in Gotham, obsessed with some old folktale, and that's the whole basis of his shtick. But he's also very much like the scientist physician in BioShock, who just wants to make the perfect human. I can fix it. I just have to cut up enough body parts. That's basically what his whole thing was. And she's got a bit of that. And she's also got a bit of Sander Cohen from BioShock, actually. In fact, that's probably the closest analog I could say to her is Sander Cohen in BioShock. Because they both...
Really, I thought as villain monologues go, I thought it was really interesting, the contrast where she goes, I want him to suffer. I would rather he be awake, but then he would mess up the painting. So it was just like, whoa, that's really intense. And yeah, I would say I agree. That's the thing that stuck with me. I kind of want to keep reading just to see what this villain's going to do rather than Violet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, I understand they're trying, like, I appreciate having somebody entirely different in Gotham. I don't know if she's gonna stick, to be quite honest, just because, like, there were some things about her, but there wasn't enough to make us care enough about her, like, at least for me, to buy a second issue. I'm interested in this villain, and if this villain ends up, like, crossing over and does stuff in Batman, or, like, Batman gets involved, like, that'll be interesting. But the only thing that I was curious about Violet, about Mother Panic, that the story didn't answer, and a little bit of the fact sheet at the back of the book did, but not much, is, like, why is she famous?
I previously heard she was supposed to be some sort of rock star, but I think they changed that because that doesn't seem to be the case now.
Well, they didn't put that in the back of the book. They said that she's not. I don't know why she's a celebrity, because she's the only thing is like, oh, her dad mysteriously died on a hunting trip 10 years ago, and then she's been like tucked away for 10 years. And it's like, well, who cares if she's landing in town? So that was just kind of annoying. Like, you could have had they had this scene at the beginning of the book where she's stepping off a plane and all these people are asking her about that scandal, but nobody's like, hey, can you sign my album? Or like, hey, I loved you in that fashion show. Or like, oh, your designs are amazing. Like, nothing to actually indicate what she is or what she does other than just...
Well, it says on the back her occupation is celebutante.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Is she like a Kardashian?
Yeah, that kind of sounds like it, which is disappointing, honestly. That was one thing that worried me, is that I liked the idea of it being a musician, because then there's some stuff you could do with that, like what they did with Black Canary. The fact that they're not going with that is worrying me. And as far as getting proper exposition out, I agree. And I'm worried, but also hoping that the reason why they're doing this is that they're trying to keep it mysterious, but if they are, they're still doing it too much. But I also am a sucker for human train wrecks, so I'm curious to see how far Violet will actually get things messed up before actually stopping crazy murder artist. Doesn't have a name, actually.
Murder artist?
I wonder if introducing a villain who's in the art scene will, like, is she involved, Violet, as well? Like, is she using her money to be a patron of the arts, and that's her thing? I don't know.
That could work.
Doesn't really seem like a very big occupation, but it would match well if that's her main villain that she's going up against.
Yeah.
So there's this similar fact sheet that we saw something like this in the back of Shade the Changing Girl. My personal belief is that, especially in a comic, you got to show, not tell. It's like the first thing we learned in any writing class, where you got to make your characters act a certain way to know who they are. You can't just have a fact sheet being like, this is their occupation, this is their height. Like, you can't just tell us who they are. You have to show us through the story, and that's how we're endeared to the character. And in this issue, they didn't show us very much of who this person is, other than she's got some sort of axe to grind. She's got a weird, messed up past. Honestly, after everything I've read in this issue, I feel like she belongs in Arkham and she needs serious help, rather than this is a hero I want to root for. I believe in her cause. I'm usually not so harsh on comics, but there's so many out there. And in order to be good, in order to, break through the faff and be interesting, you gotta show us what you got. Enough of this like cloak and dagger stuff. Like, nobody, I know there's mystery, but like, if it's so much that we have no idea what's going on, then like there's no point.
So overall, I think we can all agree that the comic really needed a lot more grounding.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing that they need for a first impact, and that's Botch. So yeah, that's going to make the rest of it.
I just have a strange thought came into my mind as I looked at the cover, and in particular, like, Violet's outfit and the way she's looking, and then, the way she acts in the comic reminds me a lot of Huntress in that terrible one-season Birds of Prey show.
You actually watched that?
Oh, you have no idea. I was so into it when I was little. I watched that whole thing, and I have the DVDs.
I couldn't get through one episode. And I was so
It's impossible to rewatch now, but she totally is. She totally is that character where she's just like, I have an axe to grind, and I'm mysterious, and I hate the paparazzi, and I'm rich, and I'm going to be a superhero with attitude.
Yeah,
It's that early 2001 goth vibe.
I had no idea that show existed until like I pitched to my friends, being like, the CW does all these like superhero shows. Why don't they do like a Birds of Prey show where it's just like the girls after they've gone patrolling and they're like, oh damn, I have to buy a new pair of fishnets because I keep wrecking all of mine. And it's just them after after patrolling at like 5 a.m., hanging out, grabbing drinks at like one of their lofts, and then I found out this show existed, and that it's probably never going to happen again. It made me really sad.
Yeah, it's really bad, but in a almost good way. I feel like you can almost watch it for how bad it is. Yeah.
So bad it's almost good.
Great time.
Yes, and they have Harley Quinn in a horrible Christmas sweater as the big bad.
Okay then.
But I mean, like, I don't know. The villains in Gotham City are also a lot of fun. Like, if you had a Birds of Prey show and then you had like a counterpart show, which is like Harley, Ivy, and Catwoman just like hanging out, like any of those are just like fine. But yeah, like that's not what this is. This isn't. Anyway, this wasn't great.
Desperately want to have How It Should Have Ended Superhero Cafe done seriously.
Got a little sidetracked there. Sorry. I had to mention, look up what Huntress looks like in that show, and you can't deny it. It's very similar to Violet.
Can you screen share it?
I guess, yeah. Hang on. Let me just do a quick Google.
Because now I'm curious. But yeah, CW, call me, because I think you should definitely do a like superhero show that has nothing to do with like it's not when they're fighting, it's after they're fighting and all the other stuff that's going on in their lives, because I think that'd be really funny. And it'd just be like a more of like a rom-com, or like, yeah.
Remind me how I screen share again.
Oh, there's a green icon on the side of your screen.
Oh, yes.
Where after they were done destroying the city, the cleanup pit crew came in and they had the whole
So
episode.
there we go. That's Huntress.
So 90s. So 90s.
So 90s. It's like Catwoman.
Yeah, well, she's the daughter of Catwoman and Batman, right? In the show.
What? That's not. That's not who Huntress is.
Well, actually, originally she was on a different Earth, but then they rebooted her so that she could actually exist in the main DC continuity.
Anyway,
Just
just thought I'd share that gem with you.
It is a
what
gem.
are her eyebrows doing? What are her eyebrows doing? I'm sorry, shutting up.
How do I stop screen sharing?
There's like a thing that says stop screen sharing. I don't know how to explain it other than that.
Should be at the top middle, I believe.
I've lost it.
Yeah, what's his face, Alice?
Now you're a circle that has echoes coming off of it, like the Cortana app on Xbox.
Oh, interesting.
You could probably turn your video back on at the top.
Oh, it's supposed to be Friday.
There's a turn camera off button. You can turn your camera
Yeah,
off.
right at the center, there's like.
Anyway, while you figure that out, I'm gonna introduce our next comic. Just quick checking who's in chat. And so the next comic we talk about, Killed 6 Billion Demons, recommended to our book club poll by Tara, who is here with us today. And that was the one we voted on and ended up picking.
Pardon? Oh gosh, I might have to leave the chat and come back. I've completely lost the video.
Oh dear.
Okay. We can wait.
Give me one.
Okay. So Kill 6 Billion Demons. What I will say about this is it was originally a webcomic, and then it was collected by Image into a volume 1. I purchased the volume 1 off of Comixology, and so I have, I guess, the official.
Okay, sorry about that.
Hey, you just missed me introducing how it's a webcomic and it was a book, and
yes, it is.
so we'll talk about some of the format changes after, because I know you have stuff to say about that. Elijah, do you want to start?
Oh, you want to start off with me saying things I don't like? Oh, thanks for that setup.
Okay, I'll start. Overall, I thought this was really interesting. However, I'm under the strong belief that Allison is not the main character. The setting, this different world, is the main character of the story. Because she doesn't do anything until the end of the book, where she's like, I'm going to do something, and then the book ends. So as long as I think about it, like, okay, well, she's not the main character. The main character is this world, is this fantasy setting. I like it a lot better, because there's like a specific moment where one of the devils like turns to her, and he's like, well, why are you just standing there with like a damsel in distress? You have all this power and you're not doing anything with it. And that's sort of how I felt like the whole book. And it was just kind of like frustrating.
Okay,
yeah. But yeah, like once I started thinking of like, oh, this world of this hell that was heaven, but is like, I can't even explain. That is the main character.
It's so rich. Yeah, it's so rich in Eastern philosophies and mythologies. That's what really captured me. I have to agree. I was really angry with Allison. Like, I couldn't stand it. The "what about my boyfriend" line, and I'm just like, but the mythology was so cool, and I really liked the angels and all of that stuff. And so I can't lie. I went and read the entire webcomic up to where it is now, which is 4 books ahead. And I have to say, no spoilers, that Allison gets a lot better. You learn a lot more about why she is the way she is, and everything just gets richer. And I did want to talk about webcomic versus print. It's a lot nicer to read as a webcomic.
Let's discuss that sort of after, because like I feel like that's like in a larger context, but I do definitely want to specifically discuss this book. But yeah, like I don't want to screen share that image I had of like her like page like 5, like had her scheduled to lose her virginity, and she's like super not into it. Yeah, I got news for you, girl. If you're not into it, it will not be fun. Your body understands you better than you. Anyway, but like that part is kind of annoying. But you go later on into the pages, and like it's freaking beautiful.
So stunning!
Find a really beautiful, stunning.
You got to do like the 2-page spread where they do the world or whatever.
I'll find that.
Oh yeah, the art I love. The art, no matter what I say about the story and everything, I love the art. The art is fantastic.
I particularly love the really detailed, like 2-page image of the world, or the image of the giant bus thing they take. Oh, just it took my breath away, and it made me want to stare at pages for 5 to 10 minutes at a time.
Yeah, so this is the throne, which is the domain of kings, and God's like just like settled here. Is the story of it.
Cool looking.
Yeah. One thing particularly, I mean, I guess we'll talk about format later. But one thing that particularly bugged me was like some of the comics, like in Comixology, it has this guided view thing where it'll take you panel to panel. And when you have 2-page spreads, it'll start off with the whole thing, and then it'll zoom in on like how you're supposed to read it. And the creators are the people who figure out what they want in the guided view. And there was a point where they were referring to something in there, but that wasn't in the guided view, and I had to like zoom out and then zoom back in, and it was like, oh, poorly thought out. But like that was the only thing in terms of like the Comixology format. I think the rest of it was beautiful. And the colors really make this book, so I can totally understand not wanting to like just print this on your own, publishing it all self in webcomics, and then having the backing of Image to put out a full color book, because it's gorgeous.
It is. I do wish, I wonder if the reason it is formatted in the short way it is, I wish I had a physical copy to show, but I don't. But it's like half the size of a page, right? And I wonder if that's because some of this stuff isn't resolution appropriate for bigger pages, because some of those giant images deserve to be like huge.
Yeah.
And the comic itself in physical form, when you buy it, is quite small.
Yeah. And that was something else I noticed, like when you go here, I'll go into the guided view, like not necessarily here, but in some of the places, the text in the guided view looked grainy, which has never happened no matter how much I've blown it up before. So I think that's probably the case, is that he didn't, like, you know, when you start off a webcomic, you're like, I just hope someone reads it. So he probably didn't have printing in mind when he started it, and didn't want to like redo all that art, or like wasn't able to because it was years in the making and he didn't have the original PDFs or whatever.
Yeah. I do kind of hope that as the story continues, and hopefully Image continues to publish it, they might do an omnibus. So I'm gonna
like a big one.
Yeah, like with the whole story, like in a really rich, nice edition. Like
One's
that's
over
what I'm
1,000
fingers crossed
pages.
for.
How big is the omnibus going to be?
Big. Walking Dead size.
Yes. Yes, that's it.
But that's what I hope for, because it is the kind of story that feels like it deserves to be told very long form, and you need to read like a lot of pages at once. The first book ended on such a little, it felt very much almost like a prelude book rather than book one.
Okay. All right.
Let us have it.
I like the angel. And the thing is, I like seeing a lot of different religious philosophies being thrown around in different fiction and everything. Like Avatar: The Last Airbender, I loved what they did with the Eastern philosophy in that. In this one, honestly, some of the things like Yazun screwing itself to reproduce kind of just raised eyebrows, and I was wondering if it was just done for shock value more than anything else. And also, it felt like there was way too much exposition happening all at once. Like the fact that there were even people was like, you know, saying in the comments for this how you need to also read the he actually wrote basically psalms about the fictional deities being involved, and it's like I don't want to have to do additional, because we're talking about that with Mother Panic about how we don't want to do additional reading material to understand. And it's like, okay, I get it. You've put a lot of stuff together. Let's get to the main adventure. Let's have the protagonist do something. Let's see something happen. And mostly it's other people talking about things and expressing things. And I get where that kind of storytelling works, because Star Wars was a lot of the same. Like, you know, what's the Clone Wars? Who are the Empire? So on and so forth. And how does that all kind of come together? And I was trying to follow it along, but there was actually a point where I just stopped reading because I was growing burnt out on it. I love the art. And like I said, I love the whole concept of how the angels work, these fluid beings who inhabit stone forms and all of that. And how the devils are all at war with each other, and these ancient gods that are, you know, there might actually finally come back through this girl, and she has no idea what's going on, and heaven's been usurped. There's all sorts of things that should work. I voted for this one. I thought I would like it. But at the end of the day, once I reach the point where the girl is all like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to finally kick some ass, it's like, yeah, you have fun with that. I'm going to just, you know, go read Giant Days Volume 3 whenever it comes out. And
yeah, I mean, I sort of had the same feeling, because, like, she, at the end of the book, she finally figures out how to use it for a second to go back. And she, like, spends, like, some time there in shock. And then she's like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go and save my boyfriend, even if he's a creep. And I'm like, what? And then the book ends. And I'm like, it's just getting interesting. It's just like Toon, where they have all this groundwork and all this, like, story and character and, like, world building. And then it's just, like, done. And you're like, why? Why would you? And that was a webcomic, too. Oh, my God.
And why?
It's the webcomic issue.
It apparently is. And the other thing is, like, I gather that it's temporary, but killing off Angel so early on, because just seeing Angel and that Blue Demon interact. I could read a whole book just seeing those two characters interact. I enjoyed seeing those two play off of each other, because the Blue Demon has this whole concept where she doesn't speak normal English, and the writer has a lot of fun with it, playing with how someone else might talk, using English words, but in a completely different syntax. That's a lot of fun. And I want to understand more about what's going on with these, these smaller people just working within all of this, what their roles are to play. Because, yes, we know it's pretty clear that Allison is going to be the one to save the world. And she's the least interesting part of it. Like you said, the world is the character. So let's focus on just the world.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on, like, the Angel part, because, like, I kind of like those, like, that archetype of character, the guy that's been on the force forever, and he's seen crap, but, like, even though he's jaded, he's still got a good heart, and he still wants to do good, even if he feels like it's not going to matter, like Angel, in Angel Investigations. So I really like that archetype, and I was like, oh, well, if he's the main character, and if we're following him most of the time, like, that's cool. And then, like, he gets shot, and I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, so sort of to what you were talking about before, I'm going to screen share. I went back after I finished the book, and I read all of these to see if it had a lot of insight into the characters and what's going on, and, like, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It doesn't even have... Oh, well,
I mean, I didn't finish the whole... Like, I didn't catch up like Tara did. I read up to the end of the volume. Mm-hmm. And then I went back to sort of, like, read over these just pages of text, of poetry, of psalms, to see if that really, like, it had some sort of hidden insight into what was going on. But as far as I could tell, like, it didn't. Like, it might be that, like, I understand that this is about the gods that were before, but it didn't pertain to the story that I could see, unless you guys have some better insight into what's going on.
I felt that the Psalms chosen specifically for the print book were a little bit of an odd choice, because I found the Psalms that were posted, most pages of the webcomic online have larger Psalms underneath them. Like, almost every single post has one. And there were ones where I was like, this, I felt, would have gone better in the book. The Psalms did confuse me in the printed one, but I was kind of, like, also intrigued by the whole, oh, this is a really unusual way to build a world up by kind of giving us its philosophies and religion, rather than being like, this is just the world.
Yeah, and the thing is, as a religious guy, I liked that they tried to do that. They tried to build up that whole part of their world, because there's a lot of people who just avoid it entirely, and I have to give props for doing that. I just wish that it actually engaged me more, and that more of it felt like it congealed.
Also, the Angel is a very interesting character, and I would not say that they're out of the question just yet, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, he comes
very,
back
very
by
cool
the end of the book, so it just sort of, like, removes the like, sting of his death, because, like, he's in a new construct. So...
It gets better, though. I don't know. That character fascinates me. The whole theory of the angels fascinates me. I really liked that. And I really liked that angel's particular struggle with gender identity. I find a very fascinating theme in the book. The way it reacts when people call it a woman is really cool. And that gets built on.
Just to be done for an insult. That was actually kind of weird for me. It threw me for a minute, because I looked at the angel and it didn't actually look feminine to me. So I was wondering if that was just a cultural thing for the denizens of heaven, hell, or if that was actually something going on. So that actually kind of raised...
I'm fairly sure at one point Allison mentions that its voice sounds feminine, and, like, it gets all upset. So there's that as well.
I just thought that was really, like, honestly, I just thought that was weird, because if your world is this, like, the throne, this world built by dead gods, taken over by kings, divided up, and where they rule the multiverse, like, and there's just gods and kings and demons and courtesans and consorts, there's everything, and it's like, why do you care? Like, you're an angel. Who cares about, like, gender roles or constructs? And it just seemed like, to me, that character would not care. So it just felt sort of weird, and I felt like they were trying to, or the creator was trying to give that, like, make that sort of, like, part of its personality, is that it's touchy about that. But I felt like it would have been more interesting if it, like, if the angel just, like, didn't care. It was like, oh no, I have no gender. I'm an angel. Like,
well, I think it's hard to explain within the confines of this book, but that gets built on later, and you kind of find out. I found it just intriguing in this book, and then, you know, it gets explained why the angel is touchy about that and why that's such a big deal, etc. and so forth. And it's cool. I can't, it's frustrating. I got really excited because the book just gave me, like, it was like eating one piece of really delicious chocolate, and then I just went and ate the entire thing, and now I'm just like, oh, but if in the context of the whole thing, and that's why I feel like I find where they chose to end this particular volume a little unusual. Like, I feel like it would have been better if they'd come out with a larger volume in one go.
I completely understand where you're coming from with that, because that's how I actually tend to approach the Dead Space series, because the first one, whenever anybody starts off, it's got the worst story imaginable. It's basically Event Horizon and just as bad as the movie. But I was always like, you gotta get to the second one. Once you get to the second one, it's so much better. But also, as someone just coming into this, I lost so much momentum in Volume 1 that I'm kind of curious, because there are characters I like, but it's gonna be kind of forcing myself to it rather than just being like, okay, this is interesting.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with both of you. While I didn't like everything about this book, I really did like the setting. I thought it was really interesting and, like, really rich. I felt like there was a lot more going on than what they were telling us, and also that I could comprehend. Like, I imagine if you reread the comic, you'll understand more about the characters and the history and how it all ties in.
So let's go join our chat.
Yeah! Brooke, are you here?
She's muted. And she has a mustache.
I don't want to mute her. No, I don't know how I muted her. Let me see if I can unmute her. Oh, she's not. Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay.
We'll say hi if she comes back. So yeah, like, I am kind of interested to read on, and just because it's so beautifully drawn, and there's a lot, you can tell there's a lot of thought behind it. I am interested in checking out more, but sort of in the same vein of, like, well, this did take a really long time to develop, and I don't really know what it's developing into at this point, so I'm not rushing to, like, go get the next volume. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's definitely one of those ones where I'm grateful that it's all available for free on the internet.
Mm.
And as I say, I think if an omnibus were ever to be released, I would love to own it, because I do think that some of the pages are really delightful and would be wonderful to look at in print. But at the moment, it's all online.
Oh dear. You're gonna now. I know I'm going to be suggesting for next month.
Oh, do you?
Yes, and it is going to be a webcomic, and it is. I'm not sure if it will get voted, but it will be interesting if it does get voted in as the one to be discussed. I'm not saying anything more until I put it in.
Cool. So message me about it, and I'll put it in the poll for sure.
Mhm.
As long as it's like it fits either the criteria of graphic novel or
Yeah.
publication.
I guess so.
Brooke was trying to join us, but her video isn't working properly, so I told her she should join us in the text-based chat. So I want to give her a minute to collect her thoughts before we finish. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I didn't like hate it, but I didn't love it. And the text stuff was weird. There's been sometimes it works. I'm gonna bring this back to one of the greatest comics of all time, subjectively, not like personally, but like known fact, The Watchmen, and that got duh. And in that graphic novel and in the issues, it has your issue, and then at the back it has an excerpt, a text-based excerpt, and sometimes it's like an article from a newspaper, and sometimes it's like a theory that's been posted, and it comes in sort of all different formats. And at first, when I first read The Watchmen, I didn't read that because I was like, skip this stuff, let's go back to the comic. The second time when I read it, I really liked those little pieces because it was further background about these characters and the story and the world they live in, and it directly correlated to the events that take place in the book, even if it wasn't super specific to that issue. It had to do with what was going on, and so I really I enjoyed those, and that's what convinced me that yes, this can work on occasion. So yeah, these ones were kind of a little okay. I don't there's two main ones from what I could see. There were the ones that were the Psalms of Yasun talking to Magenta?
Disciples. Yeah.
Midas, I don't know, some of them. I'm looking stupid now, just pulling names out of a hat. And then there was another one which was like the art of swordsmanship. And I thought those were more interesting, but if we had known that the person that wrote this principles of swordsmanship was the angel's teacher.
Yeah.
And that was brought up not a lot, just one line of oh, I learned sword fighting from this ancient master. That would have been really interesting, and that would have informed me about this character and their past and their history. Whereas they just seemed really unrelated. So
well, okay, the swordsmanship ones actually. I think I've figured out the beggar knight in the harem scene. That mysterious woman who kind of is a wink and nod and then seems to be kind of useless but is actually awesome. I'm fairly sure she's either a disciple or the writer of that. So that's something that kind of you kind of have to figure out and is revealed a little bit more later. Not really a spoiler, but yeah. That's why I think that was included in the book rather than some of the other texts.
Okay, I'm trying to find that page.
The woman at the noodle shop in the harem.
Yeah, she just appears in tiny segments. She's this.
And then you notice that the entire noodle shop has been protected from the fight, and yet she seems to have just sat still eating all the noodles.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Sorry.
I was really intrigued by that moment, and I was like, oh.
Total chaos across the entire marketplace.
Well, the marketplace within a harem. So it was a busy scene.
It was a busy scene. But I know what you're talking about. I know that scene. So
where she pays the noodle vendor with a parable or something, where it's if you see God upon the road, kill him or something. And it's cool.
Hold on, I got it.
Yeah, her.
She found it.
I just want to get to that panel. I just got it for you. This trick?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, this chick was cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's an ongoing character, so. And I'm fairly sure she's, if not a disciple, the actual writer of the sword mastery texts.
Neat. Yeah. So, like, I'm not, like, I don't, yeah. It's weird when you're in between, like, I don't hate it, but I don't love it. It had parts that were really interesting, but I felt like it could have been put together well. Better.
Yeah. I think it was interesting. The first time I read it was definitely, bam, it went on the poll suggestion. The second time I read through it, it was the second time reading the print version. I'd already gone and read the entire thing as a webcomic, so I was like over the moon in love with it. And then going back to reading just the print one, I was like, I had issues with the print one, is I think where I ended up. I think as an Image comic, like collected edition, it could have been put together a little nicer.
Yep. No, I agree with you, and like that's a really big challenge for webcomics creators, especially if they don't have the intention of printing it when they first start, is how to collect it and like how to put stuff in. And you know, people can get caught in like writer's block by trying to redo these pages that didn't work, or trying to sort of edit a comic after the fact. Of like, all right, I'm just gonna draw this page. It's gonna go in between this scene and this scene, and I can cut out a bunch of this fluff. But if it's been years, then your art style has changed, and it's hard to emulate, and then it looks weird. So I understand it can be difficult. I'd rather have a thick book than have just like a taste of what's going on, personally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This was actually very recently priced. It was $11.99 in Comixology. I would have paid $20 for a double size like volume, no problem.
Yeah,
I would have paid $30, right? Like, so I mean, but I know it's different on the publishing side. But I did like the world. I think it was really interesting, and I'm gonna check it out more. We'll see. But. Yeah. Has this guy done anything else? Because I know this is like a cartoonist. He did everything.
He lives in Japan, I think. I did some reading on the wiki, and it seems like up until recently, he was writing under a pen name and like was trying to keep his identity like a little mysterious or something. Like he was just like a pen writer for these tales. And then I think as the publishing deal came out, like he had to use his real name or whatever. I don't know. Because like on his webcomic page, it's listed as the pen name still.
Ah, that is interesting.
I also read another interesting thing. I don't know how much of it contributes to the first volume, but on the webcomic page, you can also read apparently comments that are left on each page can actually influence the direction the story takes in small ways, which I think is a really bold and interesting choice for a webcomic writer, to allow commenters to influence what's going to happen in the comic.
Yeah, that can go in awesome and or dangerous directions very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly don't think as a creator, you get to choose what influences you and what doesn't influence you. When you, like, for webcomics creators, they do have that constant feedback of every time they post, there are people going to be reposting it, going to be commenting on it. I'm not going to say which, but I know a webcomics creator who, after reading the comments in one of her pages, where a commentator was like, oh, here's what I guess is going to happen, and it turned out to be a way better twist than the creator had originally planned. Just use that instead, because like, oh, that's actually an amazing idea. I'm going to expand on that and do something sort of like that. But I don't think they did it exactly. But you can't really choose what inspires you, and especially with webcomics, it is almost a collaborative progress. So
yeah, that's an interesting. I never thought of it that way. I just thought it was very interesting that was like full on posted on the About the Webcomic page, where it was like, your comments will influence this story. gives the commenters a lot of power if they're actually aware of that, I think.
I kind of like it how like the people, like the viewers are in, like part of it. You know, like if you're watching, like it's like when you the Voice or America's Got Talent, or what was that? American Idol? The singing one. It was American Idol, right? Where you get to vote for your favorite if you paid to text the company or whatever. I kind of like that sort of interactive component, which is also why I really love doing this book club, because it's like, let's do stuff with other people and it'll be fun. We can get feedback and yay! Yeah! So yeah, it's nice that they admit it, but it's also, you're right, like it's giving them too much power. So Brooke says in the chat, 6 Billion Demons was interesting. Not something I would have normally read, honestly. She found it a bit disjointed, but that's what we're talking about. Brooke, do you have anything to say about Mother Panic? Because we already discussed it. We didn't like it. Spoiler alert. Well, while we wait, let's outro. Do you guys want to like plug something you're doing? Elijah, I'll let you go first.
All right. You can find me on Twitter at Paradigm Fallen, no spaces, Fallen with an F capitalized, and on YouTube as Unabridged Gamer, where I review all sorts of odd games, and my upcoming title for the end of 2016 is going to be Silent Hill Shattered Memories. So if you'd like to see a really good game for the Wii that almost no one bought, keep an eye out for that one.
Cool. Tara?
Well, it's Christmas time, so if you want to get your family comics and you live in Toronto, you should come to the Labyrinth bookstore downtown and talk to me about comics, because that's where I work 3 days a week, and actually since it's Christmas, more like 7 days a week. It's 386 Bloor Street West. It's in the annex between Spadina and Bathurst stations, and even if you don't buy anything, I love to have company during the long days and just talk about comics. It's great.
Cool. So this is what we talked about before. She also says it was a bit different from the Gotham storyline she's used to, but she liked the art style, which was
the art was pretty.
This is pretty much what we thought too. I think I liked the art style a little less than you guys did, especially when you have like when I'm reading digital comics and I could blow stuff up and I see all those like unfinished lines. And just, like, I'm like, you could just
gotta read the physical.
Honestly, I buy lots of floppies, like single issue comics, and like I never read. But if I get a digital, I'll read it. So it's like, hey, just know yourself. You gotta cater to yourself. Anyway, we're wrapping up here. I'm Alice. This is Quintessential Comics Book Club. You can find us on YouTube at Quintessential Comics or QCX Show. We're also on Facebook, facebook.com/QCX Show. And we'll be voting on our book club picks for 2017, January. New year, new world order. And yeah, it's going to be pretty much the same stuff. We're going to talk about one new issue and one graphic novel. And I have some other cool projects coming up in the pipeline. And you can follow me. I am the Alice Quinn, THE, on everything. And now I'm playing lots of video games with people. So I'm playing Overwatch too. So I'm Ice, AIICE 1407. If you guys want to add, we could play. Okay. I've had so much fun nerding out with you guys. Thanks so much, Tara and Elijah and Elijah's friend for joining us today. It's been super rad. Brooke, I'm sorry you couldn't make it earlier, but you know, thanks for reading the books and giving us your opinion in chat. And maybe next time we'll get together for the video. I hope you guys have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the new year. Woo!
in the future.